Plunder Pit, Chapter 17, Enemy's Work. The one person at Badger's Holt who seemed thoroughly pleased by the turn of events was Major Garnet. "I'm not surprised," he declared. "A fellow like that who fishes with a worm is capable of anything. I'm glad the man's gone. Don't suppose you'll have any more trouble now, Mr. Herriot?" "I'm not so sure," Chad said slowly. "Those two fellows, Ben and Jake, are still loose." "What harm can they do?" asked the Major. "With you two boys, myself and John Otter, they'd have some trouble to break in, even if there is anything worth their while." He turned to his host. "I'm not talking of your plate, Mr. Herriot, but of this treasure which they're supposed to be after." Mr. Herriot shrugged. "I believe it to be a wild goose chase, Major Garnet. The story of plunder hidden there may be true, but in my opinion someone removed it long ago." "I should say you were right," the Major answered. "But if you have any doubts on the subject, it might be as well to call in the police." "I certainly don't want the police again if it can be avoided," said Mr. Herriot. Major Garnet agreed with his host, and they went on with breakfast. Afterwards, Chad, Clive and Wanda met in the garden. "Let's try the cave today," Wanda said eagerly. "Rather," said Clive. "I'm frightfully keen to get in there and cross that pit." "I suppose it will be all right leaving the house," Chad remarked. "Why, what could happen?" Clive asked. "I'm thinking of Ben and Jake," Chad said. "They'd never dare come in daylight," Clive said. "You're forgetting Major Garnet," Wanda added. "He said he'd be fishing near the house. He's trying for sea trout in the long pool. He thinks the flood water will have brought some up from the sea." Chad's face cleared. "In that case, we'll be all right. The only thing we shall have to watch for is that Ben and Jake don't spot us going into the cave." "Yes, one of us will have to stay outside," said Chad with decision. "It wouldn't be any joke if they boxed us up inside the cave." "We'd better take some sandwiches with us," Wanda said. "Then if we are boxed up in the cave we shan't starve." While Rachel was cutting the sandwiches, Chad had a word with Jan and told him where they were going. Then, carrying the rope and crowbar and candles, the three went off up the cliff. At the top, Chad stopped and had a good look around, but saw nothing suspicious. Jan was working in the garden, the Major was fishing the long pool. Everything seemed quiet and peaceful. Clive was in high spirits, but Chad had little to say. Deep inside him he had a feeling that all was not right. If Torgan really knew about the treasure, he wasn't going to give up easily. Of that Chad felt certain. The day was fine. There was not much wind. They drove in the crowbar, fastened the rope to it, then the two boys fetched the plank which Chad and Jan had hidden in the gorse, tied it to the rope and let it down. The three went after it and reached the little platform at the cave mouth. Chad and Clive took the plank and went in. Chad had a candle fixed in front of his hat. Jan showed him how to do it. He lit it and they went in. The first part was easy enough, but Chad knew it would be hard work to get the plank through the narrow part. He need not have worried, for when they got to the narrow part, the passage was blocked by a pile of broken rock. Clive stared. You might say glared at it. Of all the rotten luck! It's a roof fall! Chad had dropped the plank and was examining the mass of rock. "Yes, a roof fall," he said, but in a tone that made Clive stare. "What's up?" Clive asked sharply. "Why do you speak like that?" "Take a look at it," said Chad dryly. "Then perhaps you'll understand." Clive stood frowning, studying the fall. When he turned again, his face had changed. "Pick marks," he said slowly. "That's about the size of it, my lad," said Chad. "That roof didn't fall by itself." "Then who did it?" Clive demanded. Chad shrugged. "Torgan, or Ben, or Jake, or perhaps all three of them. We'd better get out and tell Wanda." That's the end of chapter 17. Good night.